Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast may contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, be sure to check out our show on our YouTube channel. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
You think the cinema is your ally? Reviews Without Remorse was born in it. You can look me up by my legal name, David. And the man with no cartilage left in his knees, Joe.
Got that right.
This is episode 133, and in this show we will discuss Peter Fonda has died. Joe and I will pay tribute to the man. James Bond 25 no more. We have a title. I repeat, we have a title. Rambo Last Blood got a new trailer. It lasts 60 seconds. But man, are those some awesome seconds. Matrix Resurrected? Matrix Part 4 was announced today with Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, and Lana Wachowski is writing and directing. I can't imagine more puzzling news. Oh, wait. How about Sony taking Spider-Man away from the MCU? Yep, that just happened. And then, Christopher Nolan closes out his Batman trilogy with a revolution of sorts. Joe and I find out how The Dark Knight Rises. How you doing, my man?
I am doing pretty good. It's been a very interesting day. Like you said, if we don't record this quick, we're going to have too much news to cover because this has been it's been a hell of a day so far.
You are not kidding me, man. Holy smokes. Let's get at it.
How long did you boys say it was going to take you to get down there?
About 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days, that right. Boy, I sure wish I was going with you.
Yeah? You got a helmet?
Oh, I've got a helmet. I got a beauty.
If you wanna be a bird.
Born February 23rd, 1940 in New York City. Peter Fonda had an illustrious career. Probably his biggest movie would be playing the part of Wyatt in the movie Easy Rider. But the man was steadily working for a very long time. IMDb lists him as having 116 credits to his name, including 2 movies that haven't even come out yet. He died August the 16th, 2019, at the age of 79. And he's probably going to get, covered at the Oscars, but, you really can't not bring the guy up when he passes. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that he got his moment in the sun. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and you're right. They are not going to piss off the Fondas by neglecting him at the Oscars. But, yeah, and I have to confess, other than Easy Rider, I can't recall a lot of things he was in. But, boy, he's certainly a legend. The name is certainly very well known.
Well, Uly's Gold, Escape from L.A., The Limey, Ghost Rider, 3:10 to Yuma, The Boondock Saints. I mean, man has really been working. I mean, if you look at his IMDb page. It's amazing to see. I mean, I can't say I've seen most of these things, but yeah, he worked right up to the end, so good for him, I suppose.
There you go.
No Time to Die?
The funny thing is, it's kind of getting a warm reception among Bond fans, and I think the reason for that is because it harkens back. There was a time in the 80s and 90s through the early 2000s where you couldn't go. It was like every other Bond movie had kill or die in the title. Mm-hmm. So I think this kind of harkens back to that a little bit. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. I kind of find it to be a sort of almost a safe title for the reasons I said. We had a few titles that I think left people scratching their heads. Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and everyone was like, what does that mean? I don't know. Watch the movie, we'll find out. This one I think is just a little more classic, generic Bond. Again, like on one hand it's classic, on the other hand it's a little generic. All in all, though, I'm pretty happy with it. The one thing that I did find a little perplexing, though, is that it was announced this afternoon, like around noontime on the East Coast of the U.S., which is around 5 p.m. London time. And so we're recording this on a Tuesday in the middle of August, and it was just sort of released on their website. No pomp and circumstance, no big celebration, just kind of here you go. No big deal. But, you know, hey, who knows? Who can say what's going on in people's minds? But otherwise, hey, we got a title finally, so we can look forward to the movie.
It's not terrible. I've definitely heard worse, but I seem to remember not liking the movie Die Another Day. So every time I think of James Bond with the word die in the title, it almost sends a little chill down my spine.
Yeah, I guess that could be true too. But you know, I think at this point, Bond fans are kind of clamoring for something that is a little more traditional. So this might fit the bill a little bit.
I finally came home
Uncle John!
to defend the only family I've ever known.
You must really want this girl.
All she's got is me.
Okay, we finally know exactly what Rambo is getting revenge on. I almost wish I didn't know, but on the other hand, I'm kind of hype.
Well, that makes one of us.
What?
Well, listen, I gotta tell you, the trailers that I'm seeing, they're kind of making me nervous. I'm not sure what to make of it, frankly. It looks kind of oddly low budget. I mean, it seems like this entire movie takes place around a house. With that in mind, I can't say that I'm thrilled. Then again, the last one I think was pretty low budget, and I actually enjoyed the last one more than most. So we'll see. I'm just kind of trepidatious. I mean, you know, a lot of people know that I have always been a classic Rambo fan. So I'm kind of lighting up at the idea of a new one. But I'm just a little wary from what I'm seeing so far. But you seem to be a little more positive. So change my mind.
Well, I'm not going to try to change your mind, dude. This is your opinion. And you're the bigger Rambo fan than probably me. Although, who knows? We're going to be starting the Rambo series next week. I might,
yes, we are.
I might warm up. But honestly, I liked the fact that the thing is he's 70 years old now, so he's not going to be running through the bushes and stuff like that anymore. It just will not look right. I don't care how good a shape he's in. And he's in pretty decent shape for a guy in his freaking 70s. But, I like the idea that they're going more for guerrilla style warfare. I like the look of that. I like the feel of it. And, you know, having it be a personal revenge, although where the hell he became Uncle Rambo is beyond me, but whatever, you know, I'm willing to, I'm willing to hear it out. I mean, Rambo is a vestige of the 80s, of a time, you know, when action movies were like, look, you know, we know this is ridiculous, just roll with it. And I'm kind of okay with the idea of rolling with this. It feels both personal and yet out there, as it should.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It kind of threw me for a loop with the line, something about like, I came home to protect my family from. Wait, what? You haven't been home since 1982. Actually, no, I take it back. 1985, when he got busted out of jail, sent over to Vietnam, and stayed there until he was picked up and taken over to Afghanistan temporarily, and then back to Vietnam. Any family like this girl, no, she wasn't even born the last time you even saw the American soil. So yeah. I mean, granted, he could have been talking about his father. Apparently, he went home. They said the last one he had a father. I don't know. I'm thinking too much into a small detail, but yeah, I kind of went, wait, what? So, like I said, I'm just a tiny bit wary on it, and but I'm hoping. I like to go in with low expectations to be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, deja vu.
Okay, what year is this? Is this real? Is this actually we just did the Matrix series. Are we gonna have to redo them?
Apparently we're gonna have to revisit it.
This is Variety. This is not Rumorville, ladies and gentlemen. This comes from Variety. It was announced that Lana Wachowski, one of the Wachowski brothers, sisters, however you want to put it, is going to write and direct a fourth film set in the world of The Matrix with Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss reprising their roles as Neo and Trinity. I don't even know what else to say more than that.
I'm with you. That to me sounds awful. It just sounds awful.
I'm agreeing with you, especially after the third Matrix. I kind of feel like I don't have a lot of faith in you anymore.
Well, not only that, even if the third Matrix was good, I'd still be going, wait. You killed off Trinity and Neo's characters.
Right.
Are you trying to tell me that you're going to send these people who have aged 15, 20 years back in to do prequel stuff? No. And not to mention the Wachowskis have not done anything since the first Matrix that has really dazzled me the way the first one has. Not even close, frankly. I don't even think I've actually sat through one of their films since the last Matrix, frankly. I think I tried to give one or two of them a try, and I literally just turned it off. So yeah, I'm not thrilled.
I mean, Keanu's doing fine, but I kind of feel like Keanu's on a nostalgia tour, so maybe he's just like, oh, that sounds fun.
Right.
Because, I mean, between Bill and Ted and this, right?
Yeah. He's probably saying he was younger when he did Bill and Ted, so he's probably thinking to himself, well, if I did that, then the Matrix doesn't even seem that crazy anymore. And you know, honest to God, it's frustrating too, because like I've made the argument before that the Matrix is similar to arguments I've made about Star Wars, where I feel like you've created a whole world that is ripe to be explored. So you could do other things in there. You could revisit this franchise in the same way, like we talked about the Animatrix. That was a series of short films animated that took place in the world of the Matrix, and they were great. They're really good. So you could have done something. But when I hear that you're bringing back the two leads who were killed off in the last one, my radar is kicking into high gear and telling me, no.
Start? I don't feel so good.
You're all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Hurry. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Sir, please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
You, Sony. Fuck you, Sony. Fuck you, Sony. I don't care that I'm going to have to bleep that. Fuck you, Sony.
And I thought I was going to be the one to drop the F-bomb. Fuck Sony. And I am boycotting anything they do going forward. I am not sitting through it. You mean to tell me that you think Venom was so much better than the last two Spider-Mans that that's what you want now? Nope. Goodbye. Absolutely not. If you and I end up reviewing these films, which is, that's fine, but I will buy a ticket for something else and sneak into the next theater. I am not giving these people another nickel ever.
I am floored, to say the least, and I am with you on that plan 100%. They just, and literally within the past week, just announced that Spider-Man Far From Home was the biggest moneymaker for Sony ever. Okay? Biggest moneymaker ever. And here's the thing. According to the article, this is from the Hollywood Reporter. Again, another freaking source, a good source. It's not like it's Deadline or something like that. This is Hollywood Reporter. Basically, the deal was that Marvel would get 5% of every dollar that the movie made. And for the next deal, Marvel wanted to be like, well, let's do 50-50 financing and 50-50 split instead of, what we're doing now. And Sony said, no, I think we can handle it. That's
Right.
That's literally what happened.
With Marvel literally doing all the work. Sony does nothing except own the rights currently. So Marvel takes it, does all the work, and now that they've sort of proven themselves, they say, okay, let's come up with a deal that's a little more fair. And even then, Marvel is still doing all the work and giving half of the proceeds to Sony. What the hell, guys?
Nope, I'm not going to see a single Sony picture, any Sony picture. Okay? And we're not scheduling Venom 2. I didn't want to see the first Venom to begin with. We're not scheduling Venom 2.
We
not
sat through that
scheduling
crap
movies.
just to put it on our year-end worst of list. It was complete garbage. You know how, like, with a little kid, you see a little kid struggling with something, they can't figure it out, and you walk over and you say, here, let me show you how to do it. And the second they see you do it, they go, oh, okay, I got it. I'll do it. That's Sony. That's Sony. Marvel walked in and said, let me help you. Let me show you how to do that. Oh, I can do it. I can do it now. No. That piece of garbage that was Venom, that a couple of dummies went and to go see and chuckle at. If you want to spend $10 and waste 2 hours of your life where the only chuckle is hearing Venom call him pussy for not going out the window, that like the only funny joke in the whole thing, then you know what? You people who paid good money in droves to go see this, you deserve what you're gonna get.
You think this can last? There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne. You and your friends better batten down the hatches. Because when it hits, you're all gonna wonder how you ever thought you could live so large and leave so little for the rest of us.
What does that mean?
Rise.
8 years after the Joker's reign of anarchy, Batman, with the help of the enigmatic Catwoman, is forced from his exile to save Gotham City, now on the edge of total annihilation from the brutal guerrilla terrorist Bane. Written by Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan, story by Christopher Nolan and David Goyer, based on characters created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane, directed by Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight Rises. This one confuses me. There is poetry in this movie that, having sat through the previous two over the next 2 weeks, is really beautiful and done very, very well. And there are a lot of little themes here that I kind of like that they touched upon, you know, making callbacks to the first and second movie and kind of, you know, giving a closing the door on Bruce Wayne's version of Batman with this movie. I should love this movie, but I don't. I like it, but I don't love it. Recommend to see it? Sure. But I'm kind of ambivalent about it, and I'm going to let you take center stage for a moment.
Well, I have to say, I was expecting a little more of a tirade because you were kind of leading me to believe that this was going to be a total hate fest. To which I was
Well,
ready.
you know the funny thought is, the reason why I stopped is because of last show, I did dominate and do a complete hate fest, and I kind of like, I'm reeling it back a little bit, and I want you to start this time. So I'm gonna follow your lead instead. You please.
Well, all right. Listen, I wouldn't mind if you started off on a tirade because to be honest with you, I was ready to come back swinging and say, guys, mark your calendars. Dave and I are gonna have a full blown disagreement because I think people who don't like this film, and you are not alone, are nuts. I think this movie is spectacular. And I've never understood why people give it a hard time, to which, honestly, there's a part of me that just wants to say, you little ingrates, you don't appreciate anything. This movie is spectacular, and it's, frankly, a masterpiece, and I don't get why people hate on it.
I didn't say I hate it.
I'm not saying
I just said I liked it.
Listen, I hear what you said, and that's fine. But like I said, I know that a lot of people really beat on this movie, and I've never gotten it. In fact, honestly, this was the one of the bunch of this series that I was really looking forward to the most, and I still am, because honestly, I want you to sort of clue me in on what people's problems are, because I saw this film and I thought this is better than The Dark Knight. Me personally, I think this is a better film. I don't know if I would say, I mean, there are bits of cleverness, but again, last week we talked about the whole kind of shell game, the 3-card Monty that film sort of does, and you sort of saw through it, and you know, so that some of that sheen was gone. I kind of felt like even with all that, I admire this film so much better. because wherein like films leading up to it, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, there's always this kind of looming threat. You know, that this is going to be the threat that is almost going to plunge Gotham City into chaos. This one did plunge Gotham City into chaos. I felt like this was the big threat that had always been looming, but this time it shows us what could happen. The threat is real and it actually happens. And now we have to come back from the dead. Like, we totally got knocked down. We're out for the count. And now we have to sort of rise up. So, yeah, I thought this one was spectacular. When I first saw this, I was thrilled with it. So, what's not to love?
Let's see. Let's talk about the fact that some of the exposition with regards to the clean slate software that Selina was trying to find was delivered very, very weirdly, I felt. They break into the stock exchange and put in a fake transaction to bankrupt, Bruce Wayne. How does that happen? The stock exchange got broken into, and oh, look at that, Bruce Wayne just happened to put some risky things done at the same time. Huh. Nobody could have figured that out. Also, they go to the stock exchange, and it's lunchtime when they start, because, one of the guys is delivering a sandwich there. They break out of there when the sunlight's still on, and they specifically say, we've got 8 minutes until the thing's done, and then the sun is gone, and all of a sudden, like in less than 5 minutes?
Maybe it's wintertime.
So, if I break my vertebrae, should I just get a rope and just hang myself from it for a little while until I can stand up? After somebody hits me on the back really hard? That's going to fix my vertebrae that's sticking out of my back?
Chiropractors do it all the time. What do you think they do? They pop things back into place.
How do you explain Jim Gordon in a thing with a giant big metal ball falling off the side of a road, surviving in the back seat of the truck? No problem there. But Talia in the front seat, oh, she's done. Let's get to the big one, though. The Bat. The Bat manages to get 6 miles outside of the city because they specifically said it's a 6-mile blast radius for this. Fine. I would buy that. But then where did he get out? And when he did get out, how did he get out without any type of fallout hitting him? How did he get back into the city after being down in the pit when they made it very clear that he's broke? Completely broke.
What?
They shut the power off in Wayne Manor when he was having sex with Miranda.
First of all, I don't know when this show turned into CinemaSins, but I appreciate.
I don't mean it to be. I don't mean it to be. I really, really don't mean it to be. I understand the poetry of what they were going with this. I really did, and I really appreciated what they were trying to do. But you can't be Eminem. Okay? You can't be Eminem who basically, or not, maybe Eminem's a bad example. You can't be Dr. Seuss and make up a word just because it rhymes with another word. That's what's happening here. Okay? Yes, it's poetry, but it's poetry based on a lie, based on, lack of logic or any type of sense or good plot.
I disagree. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the stuff that you're talking about is mostly nitpick and not flaws or plot holes. For example, I've never understood why people get hung up on the idea of how did he get back to Gotham City from the pit. I've never understood that. This is Bruce Wayne. This is Batman. He's a master detective. The guy has a genius level smarts. They show that there's a city. There's like a big palace, like in walking distance, and a city just beyond that. Why can't he go down there, figure something out, steal some money, buy some of this, use his influence to cash in a favor here and there? I mean, he is next to a big palace. They know who Bruce Wayne is. I have no problem. I mean, I feel like if Jason Bourne could get from place A to place B with a couple dollars, you just assume that he uses his training and his instincts to either steal, do whatever, to do what he needs to do to get to where he needs to be. I have no problem with Batman being able to get from here to there at all. I mean, again, I've never understood why people get hung up on that point.
It's a good point. They make such a big deal out of bringing up little things to build on the plot as to how X and Y and B work. And your example of Jason Bourne isn't exactly a good one either, because 9 times out of 10, they have a quick little montage of him opening, going to some place, opening up a locker, going through a bunch of papers and grabbing them, and before he goes off and does his stuff. They usually explain that away. They didn't explain it here. They didn't explain.
They don't need
what the
to.
Hell.
Why do they need to explain how he gets a plane ticket? I mean, again, it's not like we're talking about how somebody would get to the moon. They got him there by plane. He'll go home by plane, and again, he can use his resources and his ingenuity to finagle a trip home. I've never understood why anybody would notice that or even care.
Dude, a 2-second shot of him saying, "Where am I?" and the person telling him what country he's in, and then him going to a dead drop would have made all the damn difference. That's it. I would have bought that. But honestly, you know what's even a bigger sin to me? The bigger sin to me is that he gets back into town knowing full well that bomb is going to blow up within, the next day. And he doesn't even have a plan yet, but he sure took his time to make sure he put gas or whatever the hell on the bridge to put up the giant flaming black bat symbol to whip his dick out and show it to the city and be like, "Batman's back, baby!"
His whole plan is to rally the troops. His whole plan is to come back and say, we are going to rise up against our captors. I don't get why people would have a problem with that. It's just so, and by the way, James Bond will end up here, there, all over the world in a moment's notice, and no one says, well, how did he get the plane ticket? How did he do this? How did he do that?
James Bond, you're comparing apples to oranges here, okay? James Bond from the get-go never explained stuff like that. This is going back to the first Batman, dude. This goes back to the tone that was set by Batman Begins, okay? Batman Begins set itself up with doing its best to try to not only ground itself, but to explain what happens, why it happens, etc. Sometimes it shows and doesn't tell. Sometimes it tells and doesn't show. Okay? This movie does a lot of telling without showing. And the few times that you almost wish it would, the few times it tells you something, it feels condescending. And then there's other times where it doesn't tell you anything. And it's like, well, okay. The bat just happened to be sitting on that roof for all this time and nobody noticed it. They have satellites that can do that, but okay, sure, it had camo on it, I guess.
I think the equivalent comparison to Batman Begins would be when he leaves the League of Shadows and you see a scene of him walking towards a runway and there's a plane there and Alfred gets out of it. Why didn't
he doesn't have Alfred anymore.
What?
He doesn't have Alfred anymore.
How did he even get in touch with Alfred? How did he even let Alfred know to come pick me up? Like this.
Yeah, but I could buy that at least because Alfred was a resource that he could tap to get him back. At this point, he has no resource. Fox is captured. Alfred's disappeared. And Gotham City is basically closed down. Any type of thing that he would normally have in Gotham City. So who does he call? He has nobody to call. He doesn't even call Catwoman.
Again, you're the fan of Batman. Batman is supposed to be a genius. The idea that he would sit somewhere with his thumb up his rear end going, oh man, my ride. Oh, they're not there. I don't know what to do. No. And seriously, he would come up with a million ways to get himself to where he needs to be.
They would tell us or show us the way. For God's sakes, a freaking shot of a freaking shipping vessel and him in a cargo hold, and I would have not brought it up once.
I don't know, but why would they even waste the time? You and the people who feel the way you do, again, if I'm Christopher Nolan, I'm saying to myself, no one is going to make Batman walk down and talk to this one or steal some money or get to the airport or do whatever. They know he can get there, so why would I waste their time with this? I need to get him back there to solve the problem. like I said, look, we can, if you want, I'll concede and say, okay, I guess he would just not have a ride home and that's it. And that's the end of the movie.
No, you're missing what I'm saying. It's not that I'm not saying that he doesn't have the capabilities of getting home. Of course I do. I know that. He's freaking Batman. He absolutely would. I just would have been a little bit more satisfied, frankly, if they had just given something. You know, they
I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying I don't need it. I didn't need it. I didn't need it at all. I think that would be such a minor point that it's not worth even showing. I mean, it's almost, I mean, again, I feel like I could compare it to almost any other movie where person A gets from place X to place Y. You don't need to explain how it happened because you just assume this person knows how to get there. I'm watching a movie about Batman. I don't need to tack on even 30 seconds of the movie for you to explain to me how he got there. I get it. I know he's got resources. Let's get on to the story.
And what about the we're gonna stick that right where that is. Because I think we've kind of spent more time on it than it actually deserves. But let's talk about the stock exchange transactions. This isn't me trying to deflect. I absolutely positively concede that this is just a difference.
We covered it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the stock exchange. There is no way in hell you're telling me that all of a sudden he's going to be broke from that stupid freaking daytime robbery. There's no way any transaction from the moment that place was taken over would be considered valid. None at all.
Yes, that I agree with that. That's a fair point. And frankly, basically, they stole his thumbprint. So to sneak one person in there to sneakily do one transaction with that thumbprint, as opposed, right, to staging this big, gigantic, that's a fair point. I'm not even going to disagree with that. However, does it just detract me from the overall enjoyment of the film? I mean, again, I could watch so many movies that, this probably could have been solved any other way except for a big giant car chase or a big action scene or whatever. But they chose to go with the action scene. Am I really gonna lose sleep over it? It's a reasonable point, but
it's not a lose sleep thing. To me, it's lazy writing. I expect more from Nolan and his Batman movies, from everything that he's done before. I expect a much more solid plot. And this was like the movie he did after Inception. Now, we should cover Inception at some point, but that's a movie that I really liked and I thought was pretty solid. And you could explain away a lot due to the nature of the movie, but it's me expecting too much, I guess.
And listen,
I liked. Let's talk about the stuff that we like, because I've beaten on this thing. I don't want to go into another Dark Knight situation where we're just spending it beating.
And by the way, listen, you're not alone. I'm not. I'm picking on you because you're sitting across from me.
Of course.
But yeah, you're not alone. So I mean, apparently more people feel the way you do than the way I feel. So have at it. But yes, you're right. Let's move on to some good stuff.
When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die.
I loved Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. I thought she was awesome.
I thoroughly agree. I think, and that surprised me. Me too. I remember when she got cast, and I was kind of like, whatever. But once I saw her in action, boy, was I sold. I thought she was incredible.
She never hit a wrong note as far as I was concerned. I thought her acting was solid throughout the entire thing. I believed she could kick butt. I didn't think that I would believe that, but I believed it.
Yeah. I'm with you there. And honestly, from the time she's introduced, I love her introduction. I mean, she's the mousy little maid, and she, oh, sorry, Mr. Wayne. Then suddenly, whoops, like I don't even know how she did it, but like literally with one tiny word, her whole persona literally changed. And I thought that was tremendous. I even the scene where she shows up to do the trade, the fingerprints for the clean slate, and she brings.
That is like my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh my God, is that not great? I mean, that whole thing is executed amazingly. And honestly, that scene is a great example of the things I've come to expect from a Nolan movie. And then I love the shot where she's on her way out when the cops start coming in and she suddenly just ducks behind one of the desks or whatever and starts screaming her face off. And then the second they pass, she just stops and like she just kind of like it was almost like she's like she even the last couple little beats are like is her kind of like doing it like she's joking, like I mean, oh my God, it's just phenomenal.
Agreed. She was good, and I'm going to be one of those people that says the following: I kind of like Tom Hardy's performance as Bane.
I do too. I think he's great. I don't, again, it's kind of like a lot of these movies. Sort of hearkening back to, when Christian Bale first came out as Batman, then everybody was sort of running around going, but it's sort of become the thing of well, actually, maybe I shouldn't even say become, because I think people were sort of goofing on it right after. I think he's great. I think he's an excellent villain. And honestly,
and does a lot with half his face covered too. Isn't that amazing?
And by the way, similar to what I said about Heath Ledger, the fact that I appreciated the fact that they never took his makeup off, I appreciated the fact that you never saw his face except for one shot.
Yeah, brief flashback scene. Yeah,
right, which made sense. And honestly, I think when this movie came out, I really didn't even have a sense of who Tom Hardy was. He was. I guess not an unknown at that point, but as far as I was concerned, he was unknown. So when they even showed his face, I never even made the connection. When I rewatched it now, suddenly I went, "Oh, look, it's Tom Hardy." but yeah, I think he's an excellent villain, and honestly, I think he's in some ways. I'm not comparing performances because I think again that's an apples to oranges comparison. As a villain, though, I think he's much better. Like I think he's much more formidable, much more dangerous, and seriously, the fact that, like I said, the fact that this does full-blown plunge Gotham City into darkness is kind of amazing to me.
Excellent performance, excellently written, and very memorable lines. He gets a lot of really memorable lines, doesn't he? I mean, I loved some of the subtle things that he did too, like the scene when Daggett's like, you got to do something about Miranda Tate. I paid you all this money, and he just kind of puts like a pinky on his shoulder. Like, you think that gives you power? And I'm like, holy moly, that's just chilling,
right?
I mean, I didn't need the guy to say you're evil, that melodramatic thing there. I didn't need that. He already sold it. You didn't have to tell me. I bought it already, just with his little pinky. For God's sake,
seriously, that is like just all it took. I mean, it was absolutely incredible.
I thought the sets for this movie were outstanding. I loved where they had the big fight. I loved the little place where they hid the reactor and everything like that. I thought the sets were extremely impressive. I love the fact that Nolan is old school and he prefers to do as much on camera as possible, as opposed to CGI. I will always give Nolan credit for that.
Yes, I love the little office in the construction yard when he brings her in.
Yeah.
Keep your hands inside the ride at all times, whatever. And then the whole thing just, oh my God, like that's great.
That was, and it went right down into this large set. I thought that was wonderful.
Totally. And again, the way they do that, they make it so believable, because I think another film would have done that, would have, like, remember we were just talking about Stranger Things 3, and the elevator drops like hundreds of miles or something to who the hell knows where. This was a far more believable effect.
Yeah, agreed. Very, very well done. Very nicely done. Honestly, again, like I said with The Dark Knight, I am not going to complain about any of the acting choices by anybody. I thought everybody was solid. I didn't completely buy Alfred walking away. I didn't, but I get why it happened and what they were going for. So I'm not gonna ding it too much. I kind of liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Blake.
Yes.
I didn't like, the little wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the end with the Robin thing. I kind of felt like, that's a little, I couldn't think of the word, but, pandery, I think was the word I was thinking of, maybe.
Well, it was a little cute, and we kind of didn't even need the cute moment. I almost felt like, again, this was sort of a trend that was happening where, and the James Bond movies picked up on it real fast, by the way, where as opposed to reintroducing, and you can only do this with familiar properties, but rather than reintroducing the characters, we do the clever reveal. Oh, this was this one all along. So again, I mean, as a closing thought, I mean, at this point, we're just tying up the loose ends, so I didn't mind it, and I did sort of like the idea where it ends off, and he finds the Batcave, and you see the thing rise up, so it just kind of left it kind of open. Who knows what happened after this? So that was all right.
Like I said, the movie does have really good poetry. It brought back the initial discussion about fear. It brought back Ra's al Ghul as the ghost that's always there around his shoulder,
which I didn't think I would like, but I did.
Yeah, and then you had Marion Cotillard as Talia. Think she did a great job. Not a fan of her death scene.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, it's not a spectacular death scene, but I do like her in the. I like what they did with her. I like the idea, and she's a great actress for that. By the way, she's got that capability of kind of going from sweet and nice to not so nice, and both of them are pretty believable. I think Catwoman does it better, but similar to Catwoman, frankly, I think she was able to wear a lot of hats in this film, and Talia does the same thing. And again, I think they led up to her pretty good. The idea, they showed the kid.
I thought that was an honest. I thought that was an honest reveal. I felt that they had earned that.
So yeah, I love this movie. Again, I think I really did. I mean, honestly, I can recall being in the theater, just being like, wow. Because, like I said, I feel like a lot of movies, like the threat is always there, but this threat was they saw it through. You saw it all happen. And I remember when they were doing shots of like all the bridges blowing up, and I was just like, holy cow, like they're going through with this. They're not kidding. So, and then you even saw the fighter jets going by, like you knew it was just all out war. I was tipping my hat to this movie the whole time, saying like, wow, you had the cojones to go through with this.
I feel that some of the risks that they took was worth it. I felt that the direction that they went to was also worth it. When I point out the stuff that doesn't work with me, it's just me explaining that I guess honestly, this was the movie that unfortunately where I saw through the magic trick, where, to use your 3-card Monty analogy, I was able to find the red card each time. And this is the movie that broke the illusion for me. And once that illusion got broken for me, I couldn't get back. I can still appreciate all the technical achievement of this movie. And I said it right from the start. I very much appreciate the poetry and how they used this movie to truly close the book on Bruce Wayne as Batman and everything else. I did. I thought that was all wonderful stuff. But it's hard for me. It's hard for me. I don't hate this movie. When I first walked out of the theater, I hated this movie.
Really?
Yes, I absolutely walked out of this movie hating this movie. I was like, what the hell was that all about?
You didn't even have like a little time frame when you saw it and you liked it, and then after a while you kind of went, hey, wait a second.
No. When I say this movie, I mentioned it in the previous show that when it was Dark Knight Rises that broke the series for me. And after that, I was elated to be able to watch Batman Begins again and realize that Rises didn't break Batman Begins, but in a way it did break The Dark Knight. Something about this movie just didn't work with me. And even to this day, even after watching it again, and this is only the second time I've watched it, I couldn't bring myself to watch it again since that time in the movie theater. What was this, 2012? 8 years ago. almost 8 years ago. I couldn't bring myself to watch it again because I was like, I just can't. I something about this broke me.
All right, well, I'm still listening. What else besides the? I mean, again, you mentioned a couple things.
I feel some of it might have to be like Bruce still pining over Rachel after what happened to her. And, you know, I mean, it's 8 years later. So the fact that he was still hung up on that 8 years later, I guess that part of that kind of bothered me a little bit because it almost weakened the character in a weird way. One of the things that Ra's al Ghul taught him was to take his anger and use it. And it kind of feels like he regressed and really had to build himself back up again, so to speak, both physically and mentally. But I didn't like the fact that they had gone there. I didn't like the fact that it was because of that Alfred left. And I feel like Alfred leaving was the bigger thing. This was a combination of like 2 or 3 different stories from the comics. Mm-hmm. One of them was The Dark Knight Returns, one of them was No Man's Land, and one of them was Nightfall. And all those are really good stories on their own. And when I realized that they were going for a combination of the 3, I was like, well, this could be interesting in the hands of Nolan. I was, trying to be positive and optimistic. But it didn't gel with me. And maybe it's because I had the source material too much on the brain that I couldn't let go of some of the things that didn't make it from that. I mean, in the comic, when Bane broke Batman's back, it took him like 2 years to get himself back in shape. Not like 3 months and a rope. And I kind of like felt like, that almost like lessens the struggle a little bit. Like maybe it wasn't really actually a break or anything like that. Maybe it just kind of like got a bad strain. Not a broken back, excuse me. I couldn't really even say, because like even Talia using Bane as an enforcer, like people, like I knew some comic fans that complained about that. I was like, oh, Bane is just fine on his own. It's like, yeah, Bane is fine on his own, but there was a whole storyline where Talia and Bane worked together, and Bane deferred to Talia because she was, the daughter of the demon. So I don't know, man. I've been thinking about it since I finished watching the movie. I've been thinking about it since we first started talking about the series. I don't know what it was, but something in this movie broke the universe for me, and I can't get it back.
Dude, I'm almost kind of heartbroken. I mean, seriously, you went from this magnificent Batman Begins, and now we're 2 films later. Honestly, I felt like this franchise, I mean, I'll say it now, I feel like this has been a perfect franchise. I really do. I mean, when I say franchise, I mean, trilogy. It really went, I mean, it had an excellent beginning. It took it to the next logical level with The Dark Knight. And this one, I feel like it took it to the next logical conclusion where, it took it a step forward and things got one step worse. And I have one problem with the film in theory. But other than that, I don't know. I just feel like everything was firing on all cylinders and it was just absolutely incredible. I feel like it's a movie that has a big set of cojones and it came through and it didn't chicken out. Like a lot of movies will, threaten this and threaten that and it never quite happens. Or, well, of course it wasn't really going to happen. Of course they were going to save the day. And here they don't save the day. I mean, they had to rally and come back, but it took all of them rising up and coming together to fight back and get their city back. But I don't know. I just love this from the get-go. Hey, by the way, how about the opening scene?
The opening scene was great. They actually did drop an airplane.
I mean, was that incredible or what? I remember when I saw this at the theater, I was like on the edge of my seat.
I saw that in IMAX, actually.
I did too. And by the way, I did find the IMAX viewing mildly frustrating when they kept switching back and forth aspect ratios. That was actually really annoying. But otherwise, I think it was just, I mean, that opening was just incredible. And frankly, I thought, well, how the hell are they ever going to do the opening, outdo the opening of The Dark Knight? I don't know if I would say it outdoes it it's a different way to do it, but in terms of sheer spectacle, I mean, that was incredible.
Yes, it was. And it was with a really amazing final shot with the two stuntmen in the center with the plane just disappeared. That was a real shot too, man. Those guys are ballsy.
Right? Holy cow. I mean, listen, you and I are having a friendly back and forth, and obviously, like, again, I feel you that you just can't. I have it sometimes too. I see a movie, I can't put my head around what exactly is wrong with it. But honestly, I feel like when I'm listening to you talk and listening to you talk about some of the things that distract you, again, I made the joke about CinemaSins, but I really just feel like it's a lot of nitpicks over not much. And again, I like I said, I feel that it's not grabbing you for some reason, but I really couldn't disagree more. I feel like this is a masterful piece of cinema. And I mean, again, all the characters stay faithful to themselves. I feel like this was a very logical progression of Batman's character as we've come to sort of see him in this world. I mean, when you said that he's still pining over Rachel, okay, I see what you're saying, but also, again, think of the Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, it's not all of a sudden like if at the the whole point was that after Harvey Dent, it did sort of happen the way they thought. It spared Gotham a lot of crime. The crime was really down. Batman wasn't really needed, but it's not like he's gonna go off and have like Alfred was saying. Does that mean he's gonna go off and have a life, have a wife and kids or whatever? No, that's not Batman. He would be brooding and miserable. So I didn't find that to be strange at all. He doesn't know what to do with himself now, and he just sort of wallows. So I had no problem with that.
Well, how much of a problem we talking here? Out of 10, my man. I'm going to let you go first.
You probably can tell by the way I'm talking that I'm obviously scoring this pretty high. I don't think I'll give it a 10, but again, I feel like this trilogy has stayed true to what it set out to do and has delivered incredible films. I gave the first one a 9, I gave the second one a 9, and this one is going to get a 9. And I feel like it's very close to being a 10 because, again, just on sheer spectacle, on the thing. I mean, again, every character works for me. Batman works for me. Catwoman was incredible. I thought Bane was incredible. The set pieces are amazing. All of it is just really intense. And again, the fact that Batman fails so bad. I mean, this is, I think I compared Batman Begins to a Rocky story. How it had a lot to do with, on a personal level, having to sort of, rise up and be somebody. This, to me, probably not a coincidence that this one reminds me of Rocky 3. Like, this is a Rocky 3 story when you get knocked down and you have to sort of get back up again. You lose your edge, you get knocked down, and you got to rally and come back. And this is that story. And again, not only do I find it to be the natural progression of where this series was going, but it really, again, had the chutzpah to sort of take it to its natural conclusion. Everything about it works for me. And like I said, I started off by saying I'm baffled at why people kind of pick at it, and I'm still baffled. And again, like I said, you and I are kind of having a friendly back and forth about it, but I kind of feel like you're not really telling me, other than a couple nitpicks here and there, why it's not a good movie.
So, as best as I can tell, the thing that broke me won't really ever be known. I have pondered it, and even as you were talking here, and I was nodding my head in agreement, and it's like, there is a lot to like about this movie, but I just couldn't get past some of the stuff. I feel like maybe I've gone curmudgeon-y. I feel like maybe I've just come to expect too much, or maybe expect too little. I don't know what it is, but I can't complain about any of the acting. I can't complain about any of the choices. Save maybe for Alfred. I didn't feel like Alfred really worked for me. Not Alfred the actor. I mean, the choice of Alfred to leave, Bruce high and dry. And then when the stock manipulation thing happened to not come back, that just kind of irked me. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the person who said, I've loved you since I first heard the echoes of your voice in this house, to just like leave and not come back. I guess that kind of felt hollow to me. And I gave this movie a 6. And I realized that's a 6 with an asterisk. I'm definitely giving it an asterisk. This has nothing to do really with what the film is. This movie just didn't touch me. And it didn't cause me to feel. And it didn't make me excited or sad or anything along those lines. I just kind of watched it. And I appreciated it, and I'm not even blaming the movie. I'm not even going to sit here and blame the movie. Even with all the nitpicks and cinema sins and stuff like that aside, I'm not blaming the movie for this. It just didn't grab me. And maybe someday I'll figure it out, or maybe someday I'll get a really nasty case of Alzheimer's and watch them again and suddenly realize these are brilliant. But whatever the case may be, something in this movie, maybe it was the time frame, I don't know. But whatever it was, something in this movie just didn't work for me and broke the series for me. And I have to score based on my own views, which is why 6 feels fair to me. It's still a worthy movie to see, in my opinion, but it just doesn't grab me the way movies do.
Man, oh man. All right. Well, dude, listen, I respect where you're coming from. Kind of.
I'll be the first. Listen, if a movie is terrible and I have like the evidence to back it and stuff like that, I'll hammer home on it. But I'm also gonna be honest when I say, look, in this case, it just didn't work for me, and I'm fully upfront saying I don't even think it's the movie's fault. There's just something about it that didn't appeal to me. You know what it's going to be? Like, I'm going to be visiting a shrink for some time, and I'm going to be talking about something from my past, and like something from my past is going to connect to a scene that happened in this movie, and that's going to re-break the universe again. That's what's going to happen to me. You watch.
And listen. And the funny thing is, like I said earlier, you are not the only one. So it's not like I can sit here and tell you that you're nuts and you don't know what you're talking about. Because you're in the majority. So like I said, I kind of feel like if somebody can explain to me why people are not connected with this movie, because I got it in spades. But like I said, you're not wrong and you're not alone. So,
well, who asked you, my man?
Who asked me? Again, you made valid points about the idea that they could have shown certain things and explained certain things. I personally do not need a little mini montage of how he gets from the pit to Gotham City. I really don't. Again, I know Batman has tons of ingenuity. I don't need to be spoon-fed those sorts of things. What I will say is that when they shot the part where he takes the bomb out to sea, and again, I don't know how Nolan chooses or what's going through his mind when he's doing this. And I literally watched it closely this time because I was very curious. Okay, the last time we see Batman in the plane versus when we actually see the bomb go off, how much time, etc. For all I know, he's kind of shooting that with maybe the shot of him in the cockpit is a little, maybe I'm going to shoot this out of sequence to make people think, but it's really, I don't know. But yes, in that case, I would agree with a fan who says you need to show how he gets out of that. And again, I don't have a major problem with that because again, a lot of films will take a lot bigger leaps than that. So I don't mind it. I don't mind the idea that, well, he jumped out much sooner. You just didn't see it or something. I really don't have a problem with it because there could be an explanation. We just didn't see it. But I will concede that for something that big and that noticeable, yeah, you should have done it in a way that covers your tracks a little bit better.
You flash back to scenes reminding him about the Gordon giving him the coat. You could have done something once it was revealed that he had fixed the autopilot that showed him bailing out, submerging under the water so he's under where the radiation is, something along those lines.
Sure.
Anything. You could have done something like that.
Yes.
I agree with you on that. Honestly, with me, it's the stock exchange thing. I can't get past that. The idea that the man has gone. The funny part is they had the perfect setup for it. The fact that they had put so much R&D into that thing and then stopped, and it was costing it gave them a huge stock hit from trying to build that reactor. That was the perfect thing that they could have used to start having things be shaky there and at least start the ball rolling on the board trying to get stuff done. You could have done something with that. The over-the-topness of the stock exchange thing made that whole transaction seem invalid. The other thing you could have done, not have it be like immediately after. Like literally it was, hey, stock exchange get hit. Oh, by the way, Bruce Wayne's broke. Like within like a 24-hour period. Like have it be like 2 weeks. Something like that. Any distance between that event and when he actually sets the stock would have been good. And I was watching it very closely this time for any type of indication like that, and they do not make any type of indication like that.
Yes, listen, that is all valid, and I don't have a problem with any of it. I will say, my interpretation of the whole stock exchange thing was that even after it happened, and there was, if I remember right, there was some discussion. Yes, they know it was a fraud, but it's going to take weeks of red tape to sort through it, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I didn't mind it as much as you did. I will say this, that by the time they actually turned the lights out, I kind of went, no, wait a second. I mean, there was a part of me that was like, he didn't have 50 cents hidden in a mattress someplace. He didn't have, when if not every penny I have is tied up in stocks. I mean, everyone, even if you have a retirement or a 401k, you're right. You do have some money beside that. So if it went broke, you wouldn't feel it in a week. So I will grant you that as well.
All right. For your consideration, with your with your permission, sir, I'd like to start with this one.
Please do.
Anne Hathaway. She surprised the ever-living hell out of me. I didn't think anybody would ever top Michelle Pfeiffer, and she did it. She impressed me even more this time around than the first time around. I felt she was very believable, both as a character and as the Catwoman. I had not one shred of doubt that she could stand toe-to-toe with Batman as well as with all those bad guys. And she got a couple of good quips in as well. I believed her turn. I believed her coming back. I believed it all. So, good on her.
I'm with you there 100%. And what I will say is, Bane, I didn't think he could do any better than he did at Batman and Robin, yet, no, I'm just kidding. Although I will say Tom Hardy is terrific in this, and I think that character is so well written, and it's incredible. But I'm going to give it to the opening shot, because I think that opening sequence is just Looney Tunes good. I mean, that's an incredible piece of cinema. And again, there's a lot of things in this film I could highlight. And again, like I said, I really do feel strongly that this is a tremendous trilogy. But yeah, I'll give it to that opening shot.
It is a tremendous trilogy. Don't let my own preconceived issues detract anybody listening.
You're
it is a really good
this?
series. No, it's not curmudgeon-ness. It's not, because I get giddy over Avengers Assemble, so it's not like I've completely grown up.
I hear you. Okay.
That's not the problem. I don't know what it is. Someday I may figure it out, but I'm just going to say to anybody listening, do not take my negativity as gospel. I do believe this is an excellent and worthy series that does need to be explored by both comic book fans as well as cinema fans. And that closes out this series. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we got coming up?
Oh, boy.
That's right. We talked about the latest one in this week's news. But starting next week, we're going to start the Rambo series, ladies and gentlemen, with First Blood.
Oh, my God. My favorite, well, not my favorite, but one of my, definitely my favorite from my early teenage years, the Rambo franchise. So I am thrilled to be jumping into this series.
You know what? I kind of am too. I'm looking forward to this. I don't think I've watched them in a very long time, actually.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how if they've aged well.
That's a very good question, so we'll answer it over the next coming weeks.
Alrighty, my friend.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry, thank you for putting up with my, Cinema Sin-esque, review. And what can I tell you?
Not a problem. And honestly, it's not often that you and I get to have a good old-fashioned debate, so this was good. I was looking forward to this, and it was as good as I had hoped for.
So until next week, sir, you have a good one.
You too, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube for spoiler-free reviews of new releases. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page on patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
Doors and windows should be armed and your motion detectors are up and running. Just call me whenever you need me back. Ah! Who are you?
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan. You should have respected my authority.